before it's too late. Got to do something and do something great. Get your act together and step up to the plate. And you'll Rastafari straight. Again, got to do something before it's too late. Got to do something and do something great. Get your act together and step up to the plate. And defend the human race. Let me tell you this. Should I know say Rastafari indigenous? Send the youth to college education, some civil up. Tell the farmer man, no giving up. Go and till the side and plant, keep digging up. Instead the morals keep the youth them living up. Can't employ if not develop. People say they need more money, not an envelope. But carry them with a single up. Them so far been too long. Them so far been too long. Them so far been too long. The way you make it so hard, you're not proud. You're pressuring them too long. You're suffering them too long. Them I feel it too long. Why you make it so hard? You're not proud. I want to shame. Got to do something before it's too late. Got to do something and do something great. Get your act together and step up to the plate. And you think I'll say you're straight. Got to do something and do something great. Got to do something and do something straight. Get your act together and step up to the plate. And defend the human race.
All night, and you know to squeeze me tight. All night, 'cause your lips taste so sweet.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Chant A Psalm A Day. Today is a Coronation Day. So we are going to be celebrating the Coronation Day today on November 2nd. And November 2nd, we have a very significant day in Black history. Very significant indeed. And the significance of today, November 2nd, is a powerful significance, actually. Greetings and welcome to Chant A Psalm A Day. It's a celebration day. We are celebrating. Flowers for you. Yes. Thank you for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. Like this video, share it, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Thanks so much. We chant the Psalm a day, every day. We look at the Psalms and we read it in the words of liberation. Today specifically is the Coronation Day, November 2nd, 1930. His Imperial Majesty was crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords alongside his Queen, representing that Alpha and Omega, the beginning without end. Because we know righteousness is not going to end. Greetings and welcome to Chant A Psalm A Day. Happy Coronation Day. So it's our responsibility as Black people, specifically as human beings, to recognize the importance of these significant days. Yesterday was about telling the coming generation, right? So what are we telling the coming generation? Are we telling them about the events of our story on November 2nd, 1930? I didn't grow up learning that. I grew up learning July 4th, 4th of July, you being ingrained these things. But what about the significance to populations of oppressed people around the world, specifically Black people, and how those oppressive doctrines or oppressive teachings, oppressive teachings provides this idea that we are to be part of the goodness and the mercy and the love. Now, I have a cancerous brain tumor. Okay, I will chant up for you with the cancerous brain tumor. Somebody is commenting here. And when we find ourselves in a physical ailment, similar to Job, if you read the book of Job, you'll see how he went through different, physical challenges. So what I can tell you is that it's the time now to seek for something higher than your physical flesh and the ailments that prevail within it. You have to seek that higher power of love, and it's gonna channel into you once you seek that. So for today, November 2nd, we celebrate the Coronation Day. And the Coronation Day for me is significant because it represents it just represents this truth, that we cannot run from, that this event took place in Ethiopia in 1930. And the significance of that event is seen in the scriptures. Okay. The Psalm today, Psalm 24, echoes that. Psalm 24 gives us this reassurance, like the blessed assurance that we have an advocate, right? And that advocate is living and breathing. And that is within us. That living and breathing advocate is you. However, you have to accept. People talk about accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, all that. The acceptance of that is accepting your own righteousness, your own goodness that's there within you, that you then bring forward, and you bring forward in the actions of righteousness that you accept. Okay, you accept that goodness, you accept that love, you accept that kindness and that forgiveness and that long suffering. You got to accept it all, because it's going to be hard. No one says it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard. You're going to have challenges, you're going to have situations, and you're going to have expectations. You're going to have them of people and society, and you expect people to do the right thing and to be good. And when that doesn't happen, what is it that you do? What is it that you do? You have to stay in that good place. And that good place is what we gather here every day to chant the goodness of that good place that's within you. Okay, that's within me, that's within you. So the Psalm today, 24. This is Chant A Psalm A Day. Thank you for tuning in and liking the video. I appreciate that. So the Psalm today is 24, the King of Glory. And I love that the Psalm is this because it is the Coronation Day. Okay, it's the Coronation Day. And the Coronation Day, we chant. We chant. Um, we chant the Psalm every day, but especially today on the Coronation Day, because the Psalm today, the King of Glory. And, the there's questions, who is this King of Glory? Who is this one? Who is this one? And it's a beautiful psalm, actually, because yes, we rise up. We rise up to the psalm, to the sun and the psalm. So, thank you for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. Welcome, greetings. Greetings of love and kindness and joy and humility and, a oneness. So as we chant the psalm and we get ready to give thanks, it is an abundance of love and kindness that I come today, because that love and abundance of kindness is what motivates me every day, motivates me and gives me that willingness to chant the psalm, to bring forth my works, and to do, the will of that goodness. So let me close this. So the psalm today, okay, so the psalm today is 24. And Psalm 24, let me get it up here, is titled The King of Glory. And when I look at the King of Glory, I know the king has a queen. The king is not a king without a queen, and the queen is not a queen without a king. So in this Psalm 24, it is very significant because it represents this Coronation Day, November 2nd, 1930, the Coronation Day. And the Coronation Day, my flowers, my beautiful flowers, I got them yesterday. I give myself flowers. So these are the flowers I gave myself yesterday. No one gave me these but me. So anyway, I buy myself flowers all the time. Even when I was in a relationship, I bought myself flowers for my dissertation proposal. I gave myself, flowers to congratulate myself. on, things that I've accomplished. So it's good for me to do that. But the psalm today, the King of Glory, and that King of Glory is going to come in. And I wanted to read from the wise mind of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, and the chapter 5 about responsibility. And responsibility, it has 17 verses in this. And responsibility is important. Being responsible for yourself and for others. Okay? So the first quote of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, is man desires many things. Man desires many things. Man, woman, child desires many things. However, it is the individual's duty and responsibility to desire the proper things. The proper things. So in the second one, it speaks, the Most High speaks. This is His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, was coronated today, November 2nd. A noble failure may be of more value than a petty success. A noble failure, like you failed nobly, that may be more value than than having success in a petty way, being petty. The third one, anyone who makes the wrong choices will be a burden, not only to himself, but to future generations. So making the right choice is important, not just for yourself, but for future generations. Though life is short, one should live and act in such a way that his achievements, her achievements, will bring him or her and his or her country a good name forever. When he does not use the training for worthy ends, he will be an enemy to himself and an obstacle to others. So your training that you have, if not, you're not using it for worthy ends, you're gonna be an enemy to yourself. That's why I always said you are your worst enemy. So he will indeed be sick while supposedly healthy and dead while still alive. So, yeah, that's something to think about. The obligation to improve oneself does not stop simply because one has a regular job. So just because you have a job doesn't mean you stop improving yourself. Okay, I have a job, but I still am trying to improve myself. Starting my own business, improving myself, maybe, going to a conference, learning information. So the obligation to improve oneself does not stop simply because one has a regular job. Simply watching other people's achievements is a characteristic of a lazy man. So watching other people achievements, watching what they're doing is a characteristic of a lazy person. They're not doing anything, that's watching you. There is no person in this world who is free from life's responsibility. One who does not contribute to his community and the coming generation remains to be a burden to his society and an object of ridicule to outside observers. So if you're not contributing to your community and the next generation, you're a burden to the society that you're in. And you become an object of ridicule to outside people who are watching. Like, what are you doing? The next one, it is not enough for the children of Ethiopia to be recipients of education. And this is not just Ethiopia, it's all across the board. They should never forget that the responsibility for passing on this knowledge to others and of handing it over to the next generation rests on them. When the wealth of a person cannot be for the general welfare, what would he gain for himself and his offspring but grudge and hatred? To place all responsibility on the shoulders of one individual while others sit idly by and seek only to criticize and find fault is to act contrary to the movement for progress and advancement of the country. So let me read that again. To place responsibility on the shoulders of one individual while others sit idly by and seek only to criticize and find fault is to act contrary to the movement for progress and advancement of the country. A qualified person with vision, unmoved by daily selfish interests, will be led to right decisions by their conscience. So a person with vision, unmoved by these daily selfish interests, people going by looking for themselves, will be led to right decisions by their conscience. They're going to be guided the right way. A man who knows, or a woman or person who knows from whence they come and where they're going, will cooperate with other people, other human beings, and not being satisfied with merely doing ordinary duties, but will inspire others by their good examples, by their good example. Records of the past reveal the great achievements of our forefathers. It is up to us to try to emulate them, for they will be standing in judgment of us. Those that have fallen on the battlefield have sacrificed themselves so that our future would be more secure. And we, the living, have the responsibility of living up to the sacrifice that they have made. So this jumps off into the word today, talking about the ancestors and the people that came before, as well as this Coronation Day, November 2nd. So we have, to those who contribute willingly, who in sweat and toil work for the good of the nation, with little thought of their self, to them will much be given, even to the governing of the land. So to those who contribute willingly, right? Nobody's forcing you, who in sweat and toil work for the good of all people in the nation, and with little thought of themselves, right? To them will much be given, because they're not thinking of just themselves. So they're going to be given to themselves, they're going to be given. Each one must repay what he has received. Okay, and that is responsibility. Then we have advice to students. Powerful. So, Selah and Selah again. My chanting bowl is vibration, and that vibration echoes. You see how you can still hear it going. It echoes. It has this sustaining sound, similar to the righteousness that is within you. It sustains you throughout your day and gives you that motivation, right? And that willingness that's talked about, the willingness. So when I look at the verse today coming from First Peter chapter 2, verse 9, talking about chosen, the chosen people, and then Psalm 24, and then for November 2nd, we're in the book of Acts, this revival, discipline, deacons, and death, opposition outside of righteousness or outside of places that are gathering to, give thanks to righteousness. We have a battle. And that's where St. Michael, St. Gabriel, St. Raphael, these angels are powerful. I call them this day, on this Coronation Day, that we are guided in our journeys on this earth to not only be about ourselves, but to think about those who came before and that gave of themselves so we could be able to have the different free experiences of creating a business, of, buying a home, of, doing these things. So we have this sense of purpose, and that purpose gives us that willingness. And the willingness is our purpose, to be willing to do good. So let's look at the psalm first. And the psalm first speaks of, let's see. The psalm speaks of the King of Glory. The King of Glory is going to come in. And it starts off with the earth. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and those that dwell therein. And that's verse 1. And who is the Lord? The Lord is righteousness, mercy, love, and kindness, right? That is what the Lord is. And the earth is the righteousness and fullness thereof, the world and those that dwell therein. Verse 2, for righteousness founded the earth upon the seas, the land, right? And established this land upon rivers, right? And this establishment of and founding and established. So the earth is righteousnesses and the fullness thereof, and all that dwell therein. So righteousness has founded this upon the seas and established upon the rivers. So verse 1 and 2 really gives this sense of the earth and the fullness thereof, and how it's been founded and established upon the seas and rivers. So we have this water flowing, because seas are flowing, rivers are flowing, right? And in that flow, we find that dwelling in that flow. Okay, that dwelling in that flow. So verse 1 and 2 really embraces a beautiful natural sense of the earth and the beauty of that earth and the fullness of that earth and the founding of that earth and the establishing of that earth. So with that, in verse 3, who is this? It's a question now. Verse 3, who is going to ascend? Who is going to ascend this hill of righteousness? Who is going to ascend that hill of righteousness? And who is going to stand? So once you ascend, you got to be able to stand. You're not just going to ascend and then you got to be able to stand. And standing in righteousness, standing in goodness, even though things are crumbling, even though things are whatever happening, you're standing in that goodness. Standing in that goodness. So the ascending and standing in that, it's written holy place, right? And when I look and define and liberate the words holy place, I call it sacred, a sacred place. When something is holy, it's sacred. It's precious. It's beautiful. And that sacredness, that sacred place, only the righteous will be able to stand in there. That's it. Only the righteous will be able to stand there. So it's a question, it's rhetorical. It's a rhetorical question. Who is going to stand in this sacred place? Right? Who is? And verse 4 answers the question. Verse 4 answers the question, right? The one that's going to ascend the hill of righteousness and that's going to stand there in that sacred place is one with clean hands and a pure heart. A pure heart. Meaning there's no negative, there's no hurt or broken heart. It's a pure heart. It may be broken some, but it's pure. It's kind. It's generous. It's beautiful. It's courageous. It's forgiving. It's compassionate. That righteousness, it's righteous. That defines pure heart and clean. Not just hands physically, but clean inside and outside. You're clean. Your home is clean. Your kitchen is clean. Your bathroom is clean. People don't really clean the bathroom after they use it. They use it and then they're gone, and someone else has to come and clean up behind them. That's gross. You clean up after you use something. That's clean. You will ascend because you're light. You're not burdened down with dirt and crumb and grime is holding you down. You're going to be able to ascend that hill of righteousness. And you're going to be able to stand in that sacred space because you are clean. Whatever you left is clean. And that cleanliness is next to that godliness, that righteousness, that mercy, that love, that kindness. It's next to that. And that pure heart is light. When a heart is pure, it's light, it's able to ascend. So that is the answer to the question, who is going to ascend the hill of righteousness? Who is going to stand in this sacred space? The clean one, the pure one, the one who doesn't lift up their life to what is a false lie. They're not lifting up their life to Halloween, that's a lie. Whatever. They're not lifting up themselves to, Santa Claus, that's a lie. They're not lifting up themselves to things of this world, that's a lie, that's false, that's going to pass away, that's temporary. What it is for all time to come is what you don't see. That's the master of your life. And that master of your life is a mist. It's a beautiful flowing river. So this established upon the rivers, founded upon the seas, you're not lifting up your life to what is false, and you don't swear deceitfully or be lying. So who shall ascend the hill of righteousness? It's not going to be ones who are lifting up their life to what is false. Okay? So in the day of Noah, when people were partying and they were Halloweening, they got washed away with the flood. Remember? So in verse 5, who is going to receive a bless from righteousness is going to be that one that has clean hands, pure heart, and doesn't lift up their life to what is false and doesn't lie or live a lie or lying to themselves. That one is going to receive a bless from righteousness that is Lord. That's Lord over their life. Their Lord isn't the things of the world. Their Lord isn't other people that they bow down to and worship other people or wanting to own other people. Their Lord is righteousness that you don't see, but you feel it and you can see it. I shouldn't say you can't see it. You can see righteousness. You can see forgiveness. You can see that when people act upon those attributes in their lives. You can see it. So that importance of being clean and being pure is how you will ascend to this sacred place, a safe place where you're not going to be hurt. Okay? So you're going to receive a bless from righteousness, and righteousness from that is the salvation, that is your future. So when we talk about in Noah's days celebrating, they celebrated Halloween, it wasn't called that. It was called something different. It's never called, it's always changed it's always disguised as something different. During the time of Noah and Moses and Jesus, there were names for certain things, names for certain places that are not named that anymore. They're named something else. So it's the same righteousness that we have to live, the goodness and the mercy and the kindness. That doesn't change. But the world is always changing and people are always following that. They follow whatever is happening out in the world instead of following that is within them. That is that goodness, that mercy, that righteousness, that love, that kindness, and that humility and long suffering. But nobody wants to do that. They want this life of the world, and the world is passing away. So that is what is going to happen to folks when they trust in things of the world and not of things that are in higher than themselves. So the generation of those that seek, this is the generation of those that seek the face of righteousness, that's seeking that, Selah. It's talking about the face of the God of Jacob, Selah. So the ones who are going to ascend and stand are ones with the clean that are clean and pure and don't lift up themselves to what is false. You got the false eyelashes, you got the false whatever false you have. And in that space of living, false, you are not going to be able to ascend because all this stuff is weighing you down. Doesn't, it's just weight that's weighing you down. But those who do not lift up their lives to what is false are going to receive this bless from righteousness. Okay, and that righteousness is a future. That's the future salvation. That's salvation. And the ones are a generation. These are the ones who seek the face of righteousness. That's what they're looking for. So yes, you can see righteousness. It is comes in a mist. However, it's that mist that enters you and comes in that expression of your kindness, your mercy on people, your love, your honesty, your humility. All of these things are expressed in that righteousness. So in verse 7, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the final 4 verses of Psalm 24 gives us a picture of righteousness. So it speaks of lift up your heads, O gates. Be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of righteousness, that righteousness's glory may come in. Thank you so much for that. Lion's Time Baby. Thank you for that kindness you're expressing. So we're not going to be down, right? We have to lift up our heads. So when things are weighing you down, you're not able to lift up your heads. And these ancient doors, these ancient times, I mentioned with Noah, these were ancient times that signified a revolution of righteousness. And that revolution of righteousness came from this ancient time, anciency. And it's, God is all oft sometimes called the Ancient of Days, because I just mentioned that the world changes and people, we have the 70s. This was going on, the 80s, the 90s, 2000s. Um, the Those are examples of that. Thank you for liking this video, by the way, and thank you for your kindness with my roses. We're celebrating the Coronation Day. Today is the Coronation Day. 1930, Haile Selassie I was crowned King of Kings with his queen. So we have to have that balance. And the psalm today is, interestingly, Psalm 24, the King of Glory. And this King of Glory is represented not just as king, but as queen as well. So when you lift up your heads, you're going to be able to see. So that righteousness is going to come in. That righteousness is so powerful. However, you have to be willing. You're a willing participant. You have to be willing to receive the righteousness and willing to share it. So in that lifting up of your heads, you're able to now come into this ancient knowledge, because you can see what was there before you, right? And that ancient of days or ancient doors is where that righteousness is going to come in and enter. And in verse 8 is asking, who is this King of Glory? Who is this one? And that King and Queen now of glory is called Lord, Jesus, Jehovah, Jah, Rastafari, head creator, that head that you lift up. And in that lifting up of that head, you have a ability to see. You have an ability to see. And in that sight, you have to have faith, because that faith gives you the strength to work, because faith without works is nothing, right? You got to have that work, that willingness I talk about. And lifting up your heads and be lifted up into that knowledge of the ancient doors, this ancient one in 1930 that was crowned King of Kings, Lord of Lords, alongside his queen, Empress Menen. We have in verse 8 the question of who is that? Who is this King and Queen of Glory? It's the one that is strong and mighty in battle, because Haile Selassie I went out into battle. Okay, I didn't make that up. That's if you Haile Selassie I is being taught in college classes at Texas Women's University. Someone called me and told me that. And I was like, wow, that's amazing that Haile Selassie I is being taught in a history class on a college campus at in Texas, of all places, right? So yay to Texas Women's University. That's my alma mater. That's where I got my 4 degrees from. My bachelor's, my master's, 2 masters and a PhD from Texas Women's University. So shout out to TWU. So the acknowledgement of that in 1930, November 2nd, 1930, this strong and mighty in battle now to fight Mussolini, to fight, all these different world, powers. We see that verse 9, lift up your heads, O gates, and lift them up, O ancient doors, that the King and Queen of Glory may come in. And the question again, verse 8 and 10 has the same question. Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts is the King of glory that hosts the righteousness, is that host of that sacredness. Selah. And it's beautiful that it ends with that host, right? My rap is coming off it. It ends with that host. And that host gives that sealing, that solidifying of that King and glory. So the powerful idea that the Psalm 24 ends with Selah. It's 10 verses, beautifully written. I love that it embraces a question and it gives an answer. Thank you for liking this video, by the way. And I don't know much about Texas. I just went to school there. That's it. I don't know anything else about it. But when we look at the Psalm today and we look at the verse, my verse today, when I look at the verse today from First Peter is talking about the chosen. And I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is right, and what is kind and good. So First Peter chapter 2, verse 9. So this is the verse of the day. The verse of the day coming from verse 9, chapter 2 in First Peter. And chapter 2 in First Peter says, you are a chosen people. You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, royal. Okay. And it's interesting that the verse today is really echoing the Coronation Day, November 2nd, 1930. This all wasn't planned to do this. I just do the verse of the day, pops up on my phone, I read it, and then I have the Psalm today. That's from the Nyabingi Tabernacle in Bordeaux, in St. Thomas. Beautiful, amazing, mountainous space of sacred chanting. And that sacred space, not everyone can enter, right? But when we look at how the relationship between the verse of the day, the psalm of the day, is about the Coronation Day. So First Peter is talking about you are a chosen people. You are a chosen people, you are royalty. So that's why we are kings and queens. We come from that. As Black people, that's who we are. I'm a queen, I'm a queen. I knew someone I was engaged to that got a dog and named the dog Queen. And I was like, wait, I thought I was your queen, but I guess they don't see it that way in that word. So queen is what is significant today, because the queen was also crowned with the king. And that shows me that a king has to have a queen and the queen has to have a king. And that can look different for everybody. It can look different for everyone. It doesn't all look the same. And we should not discriminate. Okay. Exodus 19, verse 6 too. Okay, we can look at that. But First Peter is talking about this royal priesthood, this sacred nation, a sacred people, God, God's special possession, because they are living in the righteousness and in the space of goodness, that's where they stay. They go outside, they plant their food, they eat what they plant. They're a vessel for the Most High. So they live in that way. Okay? They live in that way. And the Most High's special possession. That's who you are. You are the Most High special possession. And because you are that special possession, you are declaring sound, words, music, all of that. You are declaring of that one that called you out of depression, that called you out of smoking cigarettes, that called you out of drinking alcohol to the excessive, that called you out of fornication, that called you out of, prostitution, that called you out of all these different worldly wrongness, okay, into wonderful light. Into wonderful light. So you were called, but many are called now. You get many, but guess what? Few are chosen to really have that inside their hearts, their pure heart and their clean lives, living clean. Living clean means that your being, your physical being, is sacred. Is sacred. And in that sacred knowledge, you save yourself for that righteous one. And that righteous one, as I said, the king and queen may look different for everyone, may look different. That righteous one too may look different. And when you know, you know. When you know, you know. And First Peter really nails it. It really nails it in. Because knowing that you are knowing that the King and Queen of Glory, Psalm 24, knowing Psalm 24, right? And knowing who is going to be in those spaces of righteousness, who is going to stand, who is going to ascend, who is going to stand with the Most High on that day, is just a few. Just a few. Because many are called, but few are chosen. And the chosen are a royal priesthood. This is who the chosen is. A royal priesthood. They're royal. They have their royal robes on. They're covered. Their hair is covered. They're covered up. They do not show their bodies in that way. They're a royal priesthood. They're a sacred nation of people. That's why you see Rastafari, they look different. They dress different. And sometimes I have to not dress like that because I gotta be out here in the world, and they persecute the righteous. They persecute these chosen ones. And if you're out here like, hey, this is me, this is dangerous, can be dangerous. So in that danger, you have an advocate, so you're not going to put yourself out in danger. You're not going to throw yourself down, from above and just throw yourself down and think the angel's going to pick you and catch you up. You don't want to do that. So you are chosen. You are a chosen people. We're coming up to the 7 a.m. hour here. And because you're chosen, you're special. Okay, you're a special possession. And that being that special possession of righteousness, you have a job to do. And that job is to chant. Okay, that job is to chant, is to give thanks, and is to give thanks to the one, that righteousness that called you out of depression, that called you out of, financial debt, that called you out of physical death, that called you out of all this, void of light. It called you out of all that into a wonderful light. Okay, into that wonderful light. So I love that the psalm today and the verse today is about that. And our words today are my ancestors. That's the word today, my ancestors. And in the word today, my ancestors, for November 2nd, the Coronation Day, this again signifies a Coronation Day, because my ancestors are ones who came before me. This event, November 2nd, is an ancestral acknowledgement. We're acknowledging our ancestors in that coronation, November 2nd, 1930. Because November 2nd, 1930, that was before us. We're in 2024. So when we look at 1930 and 2024, that's 94 years ago. So 94 years ago, this happened. And I could be alive now to acknowledge that. I'm not 94, right? But this happened 94 years ago. And the word today, coming from dailyword.com, is my ancestors. And it talks about my ancestors in this way, that with love in my heart, remember Psalm 24 about a pure heart. And a pure heart has to have love. That's what makes it pure. It's love in there. So with love in my heart, I honor those who came before me. I honor those who came before me. So in my teaching, when I teach, I'm honoring my ancestors who came before me. When I create a business, when I create an app, or when I create a product, a healing miracle oil that I make, I am honoring my ancestors that came before me, because I am using the knowledge and the strength and the willingness they had to move myself forward. So regardless of whether I know a little, regardless of whether I know a lot or very little about my heritage, like I'm learning about myself every day, I do know that had it not been for my ancestors, I would not be here. Today, I bring to mind those who came before me, right? Haile Selassie I, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, and Empress Menen, okay? Today, I bring to mind those who came before me, even when I do not know who they were or what they contributed to the world. People may not know Haile Selassie I. They may not know who he was or what he did, what he contributed. They might hear negative things. I don't know. but I know they were here for a purpose. I honor each one and give thanks for the journeys that paved the way for me. 94 years ago, that event took place in Ethiopia, November 2nd, 1930. I didn't make that up. I wasn't there when it happened physically. I may have been in the ethereals, but I wasn't there. So I treasure the tender memories of my family members who are no longer here. And my family members, the bird is outside. Beautiful. I could feel them, their presence and their light and their love. Even though they're not physically there anymore, you can still feel them. I recall and honor my dear ones with words of communication to righteousness. In other words, I talk to God. Talk to God. Thank you for liking this video, by the way. So when I talk to God, when I talk to righteousness of love and appreciation, I care for myself by sitting with any feelings that arise and give thanks for my fond and joyous recollections as I am blessed. My heart is full. So Daniel, this word today, my ancestors, is brought to us today by Daniel chapter 2, verse 23. And Daniel speaks to you, O righteousness of my ancestors. I give thanks and praise. O righteousness of my ancestors, I give thanks and praise. Daniel 2:23. Beautiful words of Daniel, because Daniel is acknowledging the ancestors and that the ancestors have or had a God, the same one, and that the ancestors are there. They're behind this screen, I call it, and they're there, they're right there. We may not physically be able to touch them, but they're there. And I love the fact that the words today, my ancestors, because it gives us a relationship with the Coronation Day today. I don't plan these Chant A Psalms. I just come on and I look at the Psalm today, I look at the word today, I look at these things, and I go with where the Most High sends me. And the Most High sent me to the Psalm today, 24. The King and Queen of Glory is going to come in. The Most High sent me to the verse today talking about the chosen, and the chosen being from 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, the chosen being ones who they're royal. You're going to see them in their royal priesthood. They're a sacred nation. They're the Most High special possession. And because of them, you're going to declare, thanks to the one that called you out of depression, the one that called you out of despair, the one that called you out of, turmoil, the one that called you out of suicidal ideations, the one that called you out of financial debt and into an abundance of goodness and wealth. Physically, health is wealth. So that called you out of all those things into a wonderful light. And that light is a fire. That fire is love. That love is God. And it all kind of boils up into lifting up your head, O ye gates. So remember that, to lift yourself up. Lift yourself up. So there is a reason to be alive. You have a reason to be alive. November 2nd, 1930, the coronation date, you have a reason to be alive, especially as Black people. We may not get the support. We may be in the margins. We may be, starting off behind the eight ball because we had come to this country of the U.S. under the duress of being enslaved, and no future or nothing was seen. Yet we built this country of the U.S. on the backs of free labor. And in that, the next generation, the coming generations, have a reason to be alive and to stand firm in their goodness and their righteousness and honor their ancestors. Honor them, remember them, know that you have a reason to be alive because of them. So in our Max Lucado, I read from Walking with the Savior, Max Lucado, for November 2nd, he's looking at Philippians. I'm loving me some Philippians now. Philippians chapter 3, verse 20 to 21 says, our homeland is in heaven, and we are waiting for our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, to come from heaven by his power to rule all things. He will change our humble bodies and make them like his own glorious body. So Philippians chapter 3, verse 20 to 21, in translation, our homeland is in righteousness. That's where our homeland is. That's why I want to build a homestead. And that homestead is a homestead of righteousness. I'll have maybe 12 children running around because I've adopted that, I want to give children a home that do not have a parents, that are orphans, that maybe have been forgotten, so that they can be somebody, someone, I want to give children that. So the homeland that Philippians is talking about is in heaven, and heaven is a state of mind. It is that righteousness. It's that goodness and mercy and love and long suffering and forgiveness, right? And we are waiting for that saving grace of righteousness. That's what we were waiting on. And while we're waiting, we're going to do the works of righteousness. We're going to, through that power of righteousness, that's going to rule all things, because righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. We know that to be. And that righteousness is going to change our humble bodies, okay? Because our bodies are temporary. They're not forever. That's why we have to take care of them. We have to eat the right things. We do. And that righteousness is going to change our humble bodies, where we're going to eat. You're going to do the right thing with your body. You're going to eat the right thing with your body. And you're going to be made as righteousness's glorious body. Pure heart, clean body, clean. You're going to be made that way once you look at that homeland as righteousness, and that you're waiting on that. You're not waiting for the mailman for your check. You're not waiting for this. You're not waiting for that of the world, or this person to love you, or that person to call. You're not waiting, only waiting for righteousness. And that righteousness is that saving grace. That's going to save you. But when you wait for people, you wait for other things, you're going to be disappointed, in other words, So when you find someone that's equally yoked, meaning that they're waiting for righteousness too, you're like, hey, we're both waiting for righteousness. let's create a business while we're waiting for righteousness, or make our homestead and, have our horses and our farm and, grow food and eat the food that we grow and sustain ourselves, that and wait for righteousness together. That's what I ultimately want in someone, that they're not waiting for me. You're waiting for righteousness. I'm not waiting for you. I'm waiting for righteousness. I'm waiting for you to do the right thing. I'm waiting for you to have actions that support the right thing and make decisions that are choosing the right thing. Just as responsibility, I read earlier, talks about, Haile Selassie first talks about responsibility, and about being a burden. And you don't want to weigh people down being a burden. So you got to be responsible. And in that responsibility, you have, you know, you don't want to make the wrong choices, because according to Haile Selassie I, anyone who makes the wrong choices will be a burden, not only to himself, but to future generations. So that's where generational wealth comes, or where it doesn't. When people make decisions now, today, and not thinking about the next generation, this is what they become a burden. So there's a reason to be alive, not to be a burden. So Max Lucado's comment about Philippians, I'm interested to read what he comments on. You belong to God's eternal dream. I love that. Now, you may not feel motivated. You may not feel like you have a reason for living, but you must renew your mind with the immovable fact that you are part of a commissioned people. You have a reason to be alive, similar to what the verse of the day is talking about, that you are chosen. You have been chosen. You're a chosen people. Max Lucado is talking about it too, because that renewing of your mind, you're a commissioned people. You've been chosen, and you have a reason for being chosen to be alive. You've been chosen to be alive. My oldest son passed away 2023. My dad passed away 2024. Devastating, yes, indeed. However, now I have ancestors, two new ones. My son, he is one of my ancestors. And my dad, he's one of my ancestors. And with love in my heart, I honor those who came before me, or who went before me. They came before me, and those that went before me into another living space. They may be dead to us physically, but they're living in another space, and another space. So I call it the ancestral life. They are living in the ancestral life. And in that ancestral life, I honor them where they are. We're all where we're supposed to be. It makes me sad that you miss them. You miss them because you're alive, right? Your reason to be alive should not be just about them, but your reason to be alive is to honor them, right? To honor them. So Daniel talks about it. Daniel says, to you, O God of my ancestors, I give thanks and praise. Our ancestors followed that righteousness of God, as we must too. So I give thanks for November 2nd, the coronation. We're going to really have to celebrate the coronation, because it is a powerful time in our ancestral life, and we need to honor that. We look at November 2nd. In the scriptures, there's a revival. Revival is a new beginning of obedience to righteousness. Make that happen for you today. How are you going to be obedient to righteousness? What are you going to do today that is going to be new? Renewing of your mind. How are you going to renew your mind with the immovable fact that you are part of a commissioned people, that you are part of a royal priesthood? So, how are you going to do that? Think about that today and think about where you want to be and how you want to get there is through that goodness and mercy and love and righteousness. So we're in the book of Acts, and we're going to end there. We're in the book of Acts, Acts 5, 6, 7. Okay. So as we celebrate the Coronation Day today, to know righteousness is to know that righteousness should be obeyed. So if you know good, you do good, in other words. People who know better do better, right? We're not going to be bitter. We're going to be better. And being better, we have to acknowledge that goodness within us and express that. So I love the fact that we have the book of Acts. In the book of Acts, we see that every church has its problems, right? And the newly formed church in Jerusalem is no exception. On the heels of Peter's miraculous healing of a lame man, and we read the book of Peter today in our verse, First Peter. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities. This is Romans 13, verse 1. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that God has established, the righteousness of the Most High. The authorities that exist have been established by righteousness. So we have two kind of verse today, 1 Peter 2:9 and Romans 13:1. And there in chapter 5 in the book of Acts, it's about embezzlement in the church, discipline. Chapter 6, overlooked needs in the church. And chapter 7, opposition outside the church. So we have two pastors were exchanging the latest news. One of them said, "Did you hear about the revival we had at our church?" No. The other replied to the other, "How many new members did you add?" "None," responded the first, "but we had some very helpful subtractions." So these early chapters of Acts are marked by both kinds of revival. There was dramatic growth by addition. At first 3,000, then 5,000 more were added, but don't overlook the growth of subtraction. Ananias and Sapphira felt God's disciplining hand, and more men and women believed in the Lord and were added to their number. Stephen, a spokesman of the church, died a terrible death by stoning, and consequently those who had been scattered preached the word wherever they went. So they're starting a revival in your own life today by either adding something that is sorely missing, like making time to talk to others and pray with them, or subtracting something that is hindering your walk with God, like too much television or too many late night distractions. So what is hindering you from your relationship with the Most High? What are you missing? Okay. So it's about revival and renewing that in your mind. So I'm thankful for the psalm today, everyone. I'm really thankful that we can gather together in this time. And as we look at the Coronation Day, I want to thank everyone for liking this video and for tuning in to Chant A Psalm A. Happy Coronation Day. Happy Coronation Day. Have a blessed day, everyone. Have a blessed day. We're going to chant and pray. Yes.
November 1930, that's the day that the king was crowned. The trumpet sound, people gather around, country and the town.
The trumpet sounded on November 2nd, 1930. Who is going to hear it? Who hears it? Who is going to hear that trumpet sound on that day, 94 years ago? We're going to keep it alive and kicking. Yes. Blessed Shabbat Shalom, peace and blessing, Nubian Queen. I'm just finishing. I'm just finishing up. So enjoy your beautiful day today, the Coronation Day. All the way. Have a blessed day. Did you subscribe? Subscribe to this channel so you can get notifications. Like the video. Thank you for liking the video, by the way, and for tuning in. We're celebrating the Coronation Day today. Oh my goodness. The Coronation Day today we are celebrating. This is my roses I got yesterday. I got myself some roses to celebrate the Coronation Day. So happy Coronation Day, everyone. It's a day to remember. We're going to remember November 2nd, 1930. Shout out to my brother from another mother. His birthday was yesterday. I love you, Callie. Love you. And then today, November 2nd, is the Coronation Day. And then tomorrow, November 3rd, we go into daylight savings time. And then November 4th is my birthing day. When I gave birth to my daughter at home in the Virgin Islands in Coral Bay, St. John, I gave birth to my daughter. So we celebrate that. And I'm excited, actually, because it's a blessed day. So thanks for joining Chant A Psalm A Day, y'all. Have a blessed day, everybody. Chant A Psalm A Day. That's where we're going to be doing today as we get the Coronation Day online and going. I'm excited because it is November 2nd, 1930, 94 years ago, y'all. 94 years ago, this took place. So those of you who are studying, have a blessed day. Thank you for liking this video, and for those of you who are going to celebrate the coronation, or who are learning about His Imperial Majesty, read this book. Read that book. Okay, read this book. This will give you a good insight as to who Haile Selassie I was, if you want to learn more about the Coronation Day and all of the amazing information that's there for you, right? Thank you so much for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. Have a blessed day, everyone. Remember, stand in love. Don't fall in it. stand, ascend. Yes. Have a blessed one. We're going to chant. Have a blessed day, everyone. Thank you for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. Yes. For you, for you, for you. Have a blessed one. Take good care, everyone. Mwah. See you next time.